All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Off the Tools podcast hosted with Joshua Grudenborg, Jimmy Hong. Today, we're going to be diving into just how Facebook ads or just meta ads in general has changed our business when we were running our painting companies and just, how we kind of transitioned that over into other people's companies. But it wasn't always that we were, not necessarily relying on Facebook ads. We've explored so many, sources of leads through our times. And the first one that we were kind of introduced to was door to door. And that was like the bulk of our businesses. I think especially for you, Jimmy, for at least a full year before you even ventured into online.
I would say maybe even a bit more than that. Like first two, probably the first two and just ongoing. It never really stopped.
What was like so when you were door knocking and you were getting your lead flow that way, what was life like and what sort of, I guess, like trades were you giving to the world, if you will, to like get your leads, build your business?
Yeah. So great question. So when I started, we were taught, door to door, talking to all the neighbors. And don't get me wrong, it was awesome, right? Like you're outside, you get to meet the community, and people that you might be potentially painting for. So it's great. You'd hit like neighborhoods. We'd go around like 5 to 9 p.m. at night, just on the weekday, 5 days a week, and then do our estimates on the weekends. And yeah, there'd be a ton of doors to the point where I remember, I think in my second year, there was a little callus on my knuckle just from knocking on the doors. It worked, right? Like door to door was great. You get to see the person, but it was also just a lot of manual work, a lot of just inconsistent grinding. And it's like, okay, you got to hit like 100 doors to get X amount of like leads. Those X amount of leads lead into how many estimates, and then you go into that. But when we started, it was like you just had to do that. You didn't supplement with anything. Yet I just had one way of generating leads. It's because it's all I knew. So that's how I started.
What were you kind of expecting? Like you went out at 5 p.m., you ended at 9 p.m. What was the goal when you did that at the end, door knocking?
Yeah. In my first year, honestly, it was just get out there and get as many A leads as possible, people that have painting done. And there's a whole we can get into that later where it's like you can build the need around it. You can look at houses that need it, ask the right questions, and just be that happy go person at the door, make their day. And then as I moved on to my other years, it was like, okay, now we're trying to book estimates at the door. You might as well, right? Like I'm going to be calling them anyway. So let's set up a time at the door, which was great, right? Then you're like, you can just set them out, got an estimate of times for like the weekends, things like that. But yeah, there'd be days just, no estimates booked. There'd be other days you got like 5 estimates booked, just inconsistencies because I'm basically just putting all my eggs in one basket for, I guess, lead gen for painting.
It's interesting because like with door to door, like even though like overarching in terms of like your input will remain consistent over time, but there's just things about it that will be inconsistent day to day. Like even, is it raining? Is it snowing? And these things are fine. You can still go and knock on the door, but sure does change the experience drastically,
Yeah.
From day to day. When did you first try online marketing? It was during COVID, right?
Yeah, I think it was like COVID or just before, but it was just me just DIYing everything myself. I think I started with like the classic boosted post. So, it would have been I think 2020, just before COVID hit. Realized like I just can't only do door to door. Yes, you can build like a team, everything. So I started with boosted posts of just a really nice deck we did in this like nice redwood color. So it was like this before and after. Um, got a few leads there. It definitely wasn't the best. Like now that I know more about what marketing looks like for Facebook and just around the digital space. But it was cool, right? Because I could go out, I could go knock on 100 doors while my boosted post or just Facebook ads now that can help fill those gaps, right? You
Mm-hmm.
get 20, 30, 40 leads that day. Well, Facebook, while you're out there actively looking for leads, Facebook is passively like getting you leads and being able to supplement what you're doing with the door to door. So I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
amazing. Blew my
And
mind.
just for the folks listening too, it's like, that's where we started. You could like go on Facebook, you could find a real pretty picture, if you doing some of your business or a project you've done, you could just boost the post. And 5, 6 years ago, when the market was so unsaturated, or at least less saturated, that could work. Like you could book some estimates from there. You could probably find, a modicum of success, because I even started there myself. But it's like today's day and age, if you're just going to, a picture that you posted on your business, of like a before and after, or a project they did, or your team, or whatever, and you're just boosting that post, it's like, man, like you just might as well not. If you're not correctly putting up all your targeting settings, and you're not even using the ad manager with like your location settings, it's like you're gonna get a lot of stuff that doesn't even your service area. You can get a lot of people that's not interested in what you're doing. So boosting your posts, just not the way to go anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely not. And I moved into like doing my own ads a little bit. But the problem was I just didn't know what to look for. I was
Mm-hmm.
basically just throwing stuff at the wall and just hoping it stuck. Um, and yeah, that was kind of it, right? Like I didn't know about the KPIs, didn't know what the click rate was or any of that stuff. It was just like, hey, I'm gonna throw some money at this and hopefully people see my ad, I guess. And then there's a
Mm-hmm.
whole thing around like, hey, what can you do? What can't you do? Facebook will reject some ads, things like that,
Yeah.
where I'm like, yeah, I pretty much went through headaches on like trying to figure it out. And then trying to like get a hold of Facebook, good luck. Like the support
Mm-hmm.
it was tough. So there's a lot. It's not just posting a picture and being, hey, look how great this job was. Even if it could be the best job, but it's like marketing is a whole different beast. It's a yeah.
The toughest part is like when we sit down with clients, and then they're like, yeah, like, I've done some Facebook ads and stuff like that before. Okay, what did you do? How did you find success? Oh, I got literally nothing from it. Okay, what did you do, Mr. Client? So, I took $200 and I put it into a boosted post, and I, hope that worked. And it's like it sucks, because like $200 isn't even necessarily like a small amount of money, so you would think you might get something from it, but because you just went through the wrong process, you got nothing. And now
Mhm.
your viewpoint of it is tainted, even though it's a mechanism that can work.
Yeah, then you think hey, you tried it a bit on your own, doesn't work. Oh, okay. I guess I'm just gonna assume it just doesn't work at all, which is clearly not the case, right? Look at the biggest companies for painting. There's tons that
Mm-hmm.
are clients, everybody. You just gotta do it right for sure.
When you were running your business during COVID, and we might really have to like think back to think about this one, but what would you say like the percentage of like estimates that you were going to that was from Facebook leads? It was like a far number, was it not?
Oh, I don't have the number off the top of my head,
I
but
know, I know. Just guessing, I guess.
I would say probably over 50, at least over 50, because it
I
was
was gonna
COVID.
guess over 50. Yeah.
And just to give some context, and you can share as well too, Josh, because like you think, hey, COVID's here, we're just going to sit inside and oh, there goes our year. We're not going to be able to run our businesses. Nah, man, like we just doubled down and yeah, just went out there and like what every other painting business wouldn't do, right? Like they're sitting at home waiting. No, we went to work, figured out ways to actually be able to still do estimates. We created like contactless estimates. We did over the phone, like while even at the estimate. I remember going to one of my clients doing an estimate on the exterior like part of their home. And it was like never came in contact, right? Like I had them
Mm-hmm.
on the phone, put them in my AirPods, talked to them as if they were next to me. And then once I was done, I put the estimate in their mailbox and then went in like, yeah. And then obviously even door knocking was a little less then because people I remember getting yelled at. They'd be like, "Yo,
Mm-hmm.
COVID! Like, are you kidding me?" But then you have Facebook coming in to help, and it was like, what a great opportunity to realize, wow. digital marketing is here, and yeah, you can fight it all you want, but it's not going anywhere. It's definitely here to stay.
Yeah, like at the time, like I wasn't like necessarily sure like how to feel about it. Looking back from what we know about COVID now, like I think it was like safer than we all imagined in a
Oh
way,
yeah.
right? Um, and I remember one time I was out door knocking and I had the cops called on me. Remember that?
Yeah, yeah.
And ladies yelling at me, and I'm like, yeah, I don't need to go to your house, lady. It's fine. I'll go to your neighbor because they're gonna be far more receptive than you. Then the cops pull up, and you know what the cops say? The cops says, "I respect the hustle,"
Yeah,
because we weren't necessarily doing anything wrong.
yeah.
But in the same regard, it's also about like branding during that time too. It's like I might piss some people off. Those people might talk to other people, even though I'm not necessarily doing something necessarily wrong. Does it mean
Hmm.
that it's positively impacting my business? And I would say probably during those times, it was definitely about 60-70% of my leads was coming from Facebook. And ironically, after we moved on from the franchise, I probably booked 90% of my jobs through meta ads.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not surprised, right? Like nowadays, everyone's got one of these in their pocket, got their
Mm-hmm.
phone. Like you're just online. It's just you can't escape it. And you think of these big companies that start in like 80s, 90s, and they're like, "Hey, word of mouth is the way to go." It's like, yeah, it is. And that's just, that was like what 30, 20, 30 years ago, right? Things evolve, and it's like if you don't adapt to it, you're not going to be a top 1% like painting company. It's just not going to be the case.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also just like you just needed less of like a competitive edge back then, right? To me, it
Hmm.
was always weird growing up when like I would hear from my parents stuff like that. "So you guys have it so easy, like blah blah blah." And at the time, like I believe them, but like looking into it now, it's like, man, the market has never been more difficult. It's never been harder to get a good job or run a good business. Like it
Yeah.
truly isn't easy out there, which is why you can stay on top of competitive
Hmm.
edge tactics when you're a business in general.
Yeah, great point. And at the end of the day, it's definitely gotten like this is probably the easiest time to start a business, right? With all the different things we got now, ChatGPT, you
Yeah.
can search Google, you can ask all the people who've basically built out that path for you to run a successful one. It's like, it's crazy. You got to adapt, and
Hmm.
very grateful that we have that. Um, and yeah, COVID was a crazy arc in our painting business for sure.
It's weird because like it's an interesting dichotomy in the regard where it's like it's technically now easier to start a business because of all the tools available, online advertising, all the technology you can leverage, but it's quote unquote harder to have a good business because
Hmm.
of increased competition.
Yep, totally agree. There's just way more competition. You're right, and it's like, well, the question is simple, right? It's like, what are the best companies doing out there to stay
Mm-hmm.
the best, and what
Mm-hmm.
are you gonna listen to the person that's still stuck on the tools that just not going to be the same, right? Like the biggest companies out there, they offset their marketing. They have a team to do it. They have other things because they know how valuable time is, and they have better things to do than to just stuck. Just because it's called stuck on the tools doesn't mean you have to have a hammer or a paintbrush in your hand, right? You can be
Mm-hmm.
stuck on the tools literally behind a computer and having to
Mm-hmm.
type away expenses, do your
Yep.
ads. Like I'd I'd rather meet with clients. Like I'd
Mm-hmm.
rather deal with that. I'm not My time's worth more than having to do all that myself. So I mean that's just my take.
That's kind of funny too. I don't think a lot of people put that into like perspective in the regard where it's like the tools are tools and it's like that can be typing, that can be painting, that man, and what's the funniest too? It's like even on our ads where we're like, hey, businesses, painting businesses, do you need help with your online marketing? We'll add like blank amount of revenue to your bottom line. And it's always the guy with the paintbrush, that's painting rooms all day, every day that has something to say about it. But it's like, if you haven't seen that side of things, I think it's so incredibly easy to be skeptical. And
Yep.
but at the same time, it's like if I was them, I'd always just be wondering. It's like, man, if I'm like the lone show painter and I see whatever Certa Pro out
Mhm.
there, 500 franchises, whatever they do, it's like, okay, well, they did that somehow.
Yeah,
And guess what? Certa Pro's running Facebook ads. I promise.
100%. Like, I would bet money on that every day of
I
the
know
week.
they are.
So
I
there you go.
know.
I guess I win.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Um, let's let's maybe bring like our listeners through kind of what happened this weekend. We went to go see our client, show to Andrew Vardy. And we went to go see him up in Collingwood, and we were, I would say, blown away just by like his dedication to his business. And we really started to realize, because to put in perspective for you guys, and I hope Andrew doesn't mind me putting him on blast, but Andrew's booked 200K the last 2 months just from Facebook,
Mhm.
right? And in our eyes, that's the question of, okay, how did he do that, right? But we started listening, and what were you gathering, I guess, from Andrew when he started walking us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, big shout out to him and Collier too, because like
Yeah,
they're crushing, right?
yeah.
And we're like, as we talk to them more and ask them more questions, I wasn't surprised. They're doing
Mm-hmm.
everything right. They're doing the process right. They're
What does that mean, though? Break it down. Break
Yeah,
it down.
I'll break it down for you. So number one is speed to lead. You hear it all the time. What does that mean? A lead comes in, you drop everything. And
Mm-hmm.
put it in perspective, if you're driving, you pull over and you call that lead. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the likelihood of them picking up in the first like few minutes is way higher. It drops after a few minutes. So
Mm-hmm.
number one, he's always calling the leads. As soon as they come in, you get an email, or he has one of his team do it for him, Collier. So shout out to him. He's the brains, I swear.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two, they just double dial, right? So one of the things we implement is you double dial every lead. And I get it. Like some people, oh, I don't want to be a bother, but let me maybe give you a reframe around that. Because yes, you're double dialing, but only because they reached out to you and you're serving them at the highest level, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you just care so much. And at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, you don't know what's going on, right? They might think, oh, I don't recognize this number or blah, blah, blah. There's so many things, right? But when they do pick up, worst case, they're like, hey, like it's not a good time. Oh, perfect. No problem. You reached out to us. When's a better time? Right. They're like, oh, it was you. Like, how can you get mad at that? You just play it off that. And
You're
then
just so committed to helping them that it's like I can't not but call you twice because I am so committed to making sure you get the help you want. It's the same with door knocking in the regard where some of
yep.
you are like, oh, I'm bothering people all day, every day. It's like, no, you're going out to the community and asking if they need your help. It's pretty noble.
Yeah, you're meeting the community, you're lending your hand and your services, like absolutely noble. So yeah, that would be the biggest ones. And then also, he actually shared, it was actually amazing to hear. So once or twice a week, him and Collier, they sit down and they dial their past leads, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, not they're not just dialing a lead that comes in and leave, and then like 2 weeks goes and they never speak to them ever again. No, they're dialing, double dialing. If they don't pick up, they try again in the evening, and then they try again, either like tomorrow or the day after, and then they have a day where they just do pass leads. People that haven't picked up last week, 2 weeks ago, sends like emails, like texts. So all these different touch points, and I'm not surprised they're able to book like 200K because they're just so committed and they just
Mm-hmm.
do the process perfectly. So shout out to them for sure.
We broke down just for Andrew, like his ad spend, his ROI, stuff like that. And it turned out that he was getting $66 back for every dollar that he put in to marketing. And then and that's revenue. But then if you factor in, the a low estimation of how much profit he's gaining from that, for every dollar that he puts in, he gets $20 back in profit.
There you go. Maybe be higher. Like,
It
there you
was
go.
higher because we
Yeah.
took a high level of ad spend estimation and a low estimation of how much revenue that is booked, and it actually surely is higher.
Yeah, I love it. So, and do you want to tell like our listeners kind of about how it's basically like printing money, but legally, right? For any all you listeners out there. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
um like it isn't printing money, right? Like I was whenever I sit down with somebody and like we're talking about potentially starting something like this, I always go over, I'm like, so when we're talking about scalability, you want something that can increase via the amount that you can put into it. Meaning,
Hmm.
if you're putting lawn signs out there, you put 10 lawn signs out there, you're getting 1 lead a month from your lawn signs. If you put 20 lawn signs out there, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're getting 2 leads per month now, because the location has something to do with it in
Yeah.
general. However, when it comes to meta advertising specifically, and I would argue on Google ads as well, if you're getting 30 leads per month at $1,000 in ad spend, and you want to double the amount of revenue that you bring in next year just by averages next year, next month, all you got to do is just put in $2,000. And then if you booked 30K from your $1,000 in ad spend, guess what's going to happen next month? As long as you call your leads and actually schedule estimates and keep your word, you're going to book 60K, because it's built into the mechanism of Facebook advertising itself, along with all the other trackable metrics that you can look. What's the percentage of people that actually click on your ad when they see it? What's the watch time of your videos when you actually place them?
Hmm.
The list goes on.
There's just so much, and it's like we want to be able to educate people out there around this because maybe they just don't know, right? They don't
Yeah.
know about this stuff, and at the end of the day, it's like, testing all the ads, and once you find a winner, it's like, hey, yeah, like there's an ad here that's basically what when I say quote unquote printing money, it's like, okay, let's put some more ad spend in it. You're getting a huge ROI on it, so why wouldn't you? And it makes and we always say like keep doing everything else that's working, right? If lawn
Mm-hmm.
signs are working, great, keep doing that. Don't just rely on it or door to door stuff like that. Yeah, keep doing everything. Home shows, they work too. Everything works, right? So it's the whole point is to just make sure you don't leave all your eggs in one basket and you just have multiple fishing poles in the pond to really help you scale. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, well, I think that's our 30 minutes there, Jimmy.
Time always goes by when we're doing this,
Time
eh?
time flies when you're painting walls. So if you guys are at all interested in what it might be like to potentially work with Launchpoint Media, or just curious about what it is more that we do, I will definitely have some links below this video. We really hope that what you heard here today was super insightful, and you can actually take something away from it. But I guess without anything else, see you guys later.
Yeah, I'll leave you with this. Think about how much money you might be leaving on the table
Hmm.
from just other sources. Forget about just Facebook. So many other things. So
I
you'll
love
be
it.
shocked.
All right, guys. We'll see you later.
Sounds good. Peace, guys.